Rights against buyer. The unpaid seller has the rights against buyer. Suit for price. When the ownership in goods has passed to the buyer and the buyer refuses to pay the price according to the terms of the contract, the seller can sue the buyer for the price irrespective of the delivery of goods. Suit for damages. When the buyer refuses to accept or pay for the goods, the seller may sue him for the damages for non acceptance. The seller can recover damages only and not the full price. Suit for special damages and interest. The seller can sue the buyer for special damages when the parties are aware of such damages at the time of the contract. The unpaid seller can recover interest at a reasonable rate on the total unpaid price of the goods from the time it was due until it was paid. Rights of a buyer. Buyer has got few rights such as damages for non-delivery, where the seller wrongfully neglects or refuses to deliver the goods to the buyer may sue the seller for the damages for non-delivery. Suit for specific performance. When there is a breach of contract for the sale of specific goods, the buyer may file a suit for the specific performance. This remedy is granted only when the damages would not be an adequate remedy. It is granted when subject matter of the contract is rare goods, for example, picture by a dead painter. Damages for the breach of warranty. When there is a breach of warranty by the seller, the buyer is entitled to sue for the damages if he has paid the price to the seller. But if the buyer has not yet paid the price, he may ask the seller for a reasonable reduction in the price. Cancellation and damages. When there is a breach of condition by the seller, the buyer can avoid the contract and claim damages. Recovery of price with interest. If the buyer has already paid the price to the seller and the seller does not deliver the goods to the buyer, he can sue the seller for the refund of the price and interest at a reasonable rate. Auction sale. Auction sale is a public sale where different buyers come to buy the goods. There are rules regarding auction sale. Goods in lots. When the goods are put for the sale in lots, each lot is prima facie deemed to be the subject of separate contract of sale. Completion of sale. The sale is complete when the auctioneer announces its completion by fall of the hammer or in any other customary manner. Withdrawal of bid. The bidder can withdraw his bid before the sale is complete. Right of seller to the bid. The seller or any other person on his behalf can bid at the auction if such a right is to bid has been expressly reserved at the time of notifying the auction sale. Pretended bid. If the seller makes the pretended bids to raise the price, the sale is voidable at the option of the buyer. Reserve price. The sale may be notified to be subject to a reserve price. If the highest bid is less than that price, the auctioneer may refuse to accept the bid. Agreement not to bid. An agreement between intending buyers not to bid against each other is not illegal. Seller's right. The auctioneer can refuse to sell goods on credit and accept payment by means of negotiable instruments. Amount of tax. Where any tax is imposed after making of any contract of the sale of goods, the seller can add such amount of tax in contract price. Similarly, where any tax is decreased or omitted after making of any contract, The buyer can deduct such amount of tax from the total price.